something really beautiful that happens, and everyone who's spoken today, I feel like has told a little part of my story too, you know, and there's such a connection between all of us. And I liked what Tom said. I mean, I wish I could just go through and talk about what everyone else talked about, because, I mean, just like touch on about what everything that other people talked about that touched me in some way. I just have to say, Cece, it would be so interesting to do a study on how the punk scene has influenced so many of us. I didn't have that as part of my talk, but I wrote an article about it once because there was something about the whole do-it-yourself thing that just, and I think that's kind of what we all probably are going to be engaged in as we move forward. You know, some people are already living their life as an artist, and some are going to be embarking on that. But just the fact that that it's not about jumping into some set job or model, but everyone here has modeled how you kind of pull things together and form your own experience. And that's what the punk scene model for me is, just that, you know, it's just like people putting on shows, making flyers, putting out their own. I mean, this was like in the very early 80s in DC, so it was brand new, you know, in the US at that time. And it was like, I was a suburban kid, like my whole mind and world was blown open, that you can kind of do your own thing. And I think that's what everyone's sort of talking about today. So as far as my experience, here's my studio, which is in Emeryville. And I'll just walk you briefly through my history as an artist. This is one of the pieces I did in undergraduate. And I think my work started off very, you know, figurative. This is a piece called Searching, and that's really where I was at that point in my life, just sort of searching, like, what is life about? What am I doing here? What's going on? And I didn't know what I was doing at the time when I painted that, but now I get it. I still don't know what this piece is about. It's called Eye Huts in the Forest, and there are these three eyes, like, so just, I was very influenced by early Renaissance painting and that sort of primitive way of drawing, but also there's a deep spiritual content to me and to my work. So this piece, we're going to fast forward way, like 15 years later. This is a piece I did in San Jose called Breathing Room, and this is when my meditation practice, which I've been doing for many years now, really started to filter into my art practice. And this was an invitation, a space to come in and to be quiet, to notice the present moment. And the repeated marks are about that. They're about present moment awareness. And I hope to do this piece again sometime, because what's going to happen next time we exhibit is that over the time the pile of fabric gets added to daily and the water in the bowl evaporates. There's also, anyway, I'm going to talk about my work, but I couldn't talk about my work a long time. This is a piece called Seed Piece, and this was a performative installation. Each seed represented sort of wishes, intentions, or prayers that I collected from people around the world. And as I pinned them to the wall, I voiced that intention for others. And it ended up being, it's like a, I don't know, about 9 feet circle of these seeds. This was a piece called Harmony in My Head, and I did this at a gallery in San Francisco. And what was your name again? Rhiannon. Yeah, I loved your thing about having people come in, and that's actually what happened organically as I did this. People came in, and I was actually painting some of the pieces during the install, and like they were knocking on the windows and coming by with their babies and kids, and I love that. And I'm a very social person, and as we get into what I do to earn my living, we'll talk about how that influences what I do and how that balances out my very solitary, very meditative art practice. So here's what I do to support my making. I do sales. I've worked with different galleries. You know, I've ended up selling a lot just to people I know too. In my studio, I have an Etsy shop. I do workshops in my studio. I've done public art commissions and also some private art commissions. And this is a piece that'll that you see with the bird there. That's going to be a series that's going up in Emeryville about a year from now. That was for the city of Emeryville that I did that. I teach technical acrylic programs for Liquitex as part of their artist outreach program. I've gotten to travel all over the US and Canada doing that, and that's been a really fun thing, and I've learned a lot about materials doing that, and it's really influenced my own practice. And I run a mentorship program called the Mindful Artist Mentorship Program, and that kind of gets into, we were asked to talk about what do you do to get unstuck, what do you do to keep creative, and that has been a passion of mine since I first got started, because I have very much graduated with this strong desire to be an artist, but I had no idea what that looked like. I didn't know how to do it, and I moved out here from Boston, and I just was like, okay, now what? I started making work, but I struggled a lot with my own inner demons and a lot of insecurity about what I was doing. And so over time, I worked those things out, and I've developed a really solid connection to myself and to my practice and its relationship to the world. And that's what I like sharing with other artists. I'm also just really passionate about the creative process. I didn't feel like my teachers were really articulate about that, and it was something I really had to discover on my own. And I think there's a really interesting conversation around that. And it's something that I believe that as creative people, we need to understand the dynamics of the creative process in order to continue creating. There are a lot of things that can kind of take you down that are normal parts of the process. So I actually have a whole website, and I think I show that later here. Okay, well we'll talk about more of how I make money. I have a YouTube channel. It doesn't make a ton of money, but like enough to sort of pay part of my cell phone bill. Maybe someday it'll pay my whole cell phone bill. Anyway, that just happened, and I wanted to speak to that a little bit because, sometimes, and I heard that thread going through a lot of these talks, is sometimes things happen that you just don't expect, and it's not, a direct linear path to where you're going. And I just happen to love making these YouTube videos. I actually can't stop doing it, and that's why I started monetizing them, because at least I have to make money to cover the cost of my camera and stuff like that. So anyway, and it's just kind of blown up, and now I have a bunch of subscribers, and now I want to do it even more because I want to help people. And then here's another thing. This is just something that my husband and I started doing together about 5 years ago. And this fits so many pieces of who I am. So this is a house in Oakland that we bought that was not been lived in for about 40 years, and we fixed it up. And we rented it out to CCA students. So that's been a really satisfying thing. And my husband and I both love this creative process of transforming houses and bringing something back that was once and I was thinking, a lot of people will graduate from here with these skills they don't even realize they have to make something else that may not necessarily be directly about making art, but something else that can, use those skills that you have. So this is the website, The Mindful Artist. This is not my personal art website, but this is where I have that conversation about creative process, and I really like to go into that with people and just support other artists to make this work, to make this life as an artist work. So you can check that out if you want. And this is actually a piece that's up in Emeryville right now, but I just wanted to end with this because it just comes back to me, what's really important to me is that being centered and present with yourself and everything that's going on, whether it's really crappy and horrible or whether it's really great, that's part of life for everyone, but in particular for an artist, especially a self-employed artist, it's not always going to be smooth sailing. And so this piece is called Daily Navigations. It's a viewing chair and 41 drawings that I did after my morning meditation practice. And it's an invitation to sit and just be present and to experience something that goes beyond this sort of physical presence and our external consciousness, but to get in touch with our internal.